Good afternoon. This is Rhabi Rites, and I'm coming to you with another one of my panel discussions. You know, my panel discussions before were Women with Words. Now it's Robbie's Corner. So in Robbie's Corner, you'll see a lot of things happening from panel discussions to uh, cooking shows to dramas and web series. You'll see a lot of Robbie's Corner. But today, I want you to listen to some local people, people who are black, and people who are concerned and passionate about the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, we know all lives matter, but that is not the issue here. The issue, as you will hear, is Black lives have to matter too. So I want you to take a listen to these people. In my eyes, they are extraordinary people. They are pillars in their community. They have done things. They have been active. They have just, some served in the military, others comedians, actors, all parents, all understanding what we're seeing and not satisfied with. So take a listen. I hope you'll be informed and that this will move you too to talk to your county officials, to talk to your law enforcement, to talk to your governors and your senators about mandates, about bills, about laws that need to be made and some that need to be changed. This is Robbie's Corner, and this is Rhabi Rites. We hope you'll keep watching. Why do you care about the Black Lives Matter movement?
The reason why I care is because, for one, I am the Black Lives Movement, the Black Lives Matter movement. That's who I am. Growing up, how I grew up in a situation where in South Carolina, to where we were taught and trained as Black people where we could go in the city and where we weren't accepted. So it means a lot to me because it just we're really fighting for something that was supposed to be given to us. And what's baffling to me is like, why do I have to constantly fight you for you to treat me right? You know, if you're supposed to be this country with all this stuff, why do I have to fight and beg and plead and cry and do all this stuff to say, hey, I don't want more than you. I just want you to treat me equally. So it means a lot to me because it's showing that that we finally, I believe we finally getting a shot to, they finally listen to us, whether they want to or not, whether, by hook or by crook or by force, finally somebody saying, that's how y'all been feeling? Because I've been getting a lot of inboxes. Wow, that's how y'all been feeling? Oh, I didn't know, Carlos. So it means a lot to where we finally getting a chance to speak up and say, hey, this how we feeling. Let's come to the table. Let's talk about it.
I am Black, and so it's particularly pertaining. Yes, ma'am. It's particularly pertaining to my life and exclaiming the fact that my life matters. But a lot of my personal feelings come from I have an extensive background from doing Martin Luther King impersonations and doing a whole lot of shows where I played the role of Martin Luther King. So I've had the opportunity to really delve into a lot of his speeches and that sort of thing in my memorizing the different speeches and doing his voice and that sort of thing. And one of the things that always stands out to me was when he talked about our inalienable rights, that we are created equal. That's the premise of the United States. And we're still, from way back then, we're still fighting to prove that we are created equal. And so we want to be treated equally. And that's not just from those in the police department or that particular area of authority, but in all areas, Black lives do matter. We from the onset of this country as the United States, they have recognized and used and abused the gifts that Black people have and the gifts that Black people bring, as far as our talents, as far as our bodies, as far as our strengths, all those things. They recognize the value of it and they use the value of it, but they don't want us to be equal when it comes to the benefits of life in this country.
Well, for one, Black is powerful. At the same time, I'm saying Black is beautiful at the same time. And I pretty much agree with both with Carlos and what Brian said, because, you know, as Black people and everything, it's like we have carry and obtain so much power to the point where it's like sometimes, whether we know it or not and everything, so we have impact and everything on, saying everywhere we go, or at the same time we voice our opinion or whatever the case may be. And like it was also said just a few minutes ago, how many races and everything have the tendency to want to either like act like us, talk like us, dress how we dress, wear their hair like in dreads, cornrows, or whatever the case may be, music and all that stuff and everything. So it kind of goes to show how much of a impact, I'm saying that, I'm saying that Black people actually have and everything. I'm saying not only just in the streets, but just just all around the world and all. Of course, it's unfortunate that I'm saying that Black people are treated the way that we're being treated and everything, with everything that's going on. But overall, so I just look at it as like we just have a lot of power now, and it's sometimes people they can't stand it. We had as much power, they can't stand it and everything, and they look at it looks like wow, it's like how can we take some of that power back or whatever from them and all, but it's impossible. It's impossible for them to do it and everything, because like I said, Black is powerful. Black, I'm saying, it's like a movement and everything, and it's like a force of nature that just can't be stopped.
Just think about the entertainment industry alone, right? Hollywood was built off our culture. Like our stories, like people made a living, put their kids through college off of our narratives. You know what I'm saying? And it's like crazy to think, right, that it takes all of this, all of this whole Black Lives Matter movement for people to really start listening to us. And it's like it's just mind blowing to think all we went through, like just dating back to the '60s. Like all we ever wanted was somebody just to just hear our voice like they hear everybody else's voice. It's just crazy that it had to get to this point, for people to start saying, you know what, all right, now I understand what they went through. Now I understand. Because it's like, come on, y'all done built companies off of our storylines, shows, television series. People done, made millions and billions of dollars off the Black culture. Now it's taking this Black Lives Matter movement for people to understand and come to the table and say, you know what? All right, now I get it. So it's just like, I think that's why I respect the Black Lives Matter movement even more, because it's like it's waking people up. It's waking people up, and I respect that, because if it's not now, then when? So it's like, I respect the Black Lives Matter movement just for that alone. Just for giving people just giving us that chance to just be heard.
You can't stand fully and confidently for all lives mattering until you embrace the fact that includes the Black life. And right now, it's the Black life that we are seeing being cheated the most, if you will, out of the quality of life in this country. It's right now the Black life that you're seeing being devalued or not as valued when it comes to not only the workplace, not only the benefits of the country, but also in the judicial system and the treatment. It's been proven time and time and again that you can have a Black person and a person of another race that have committed the exact same crime, but 9 times out of 10, the Black person or African American, whatever, will receive a much harsher punishment because with having the same offense. And so I really wish all lives matter would be enough to bring about the correct awareness, but at this time it doesn't seem that way. And I feel like people use the all lives matter as a way to feel like they're joining in the protest without actually acknowledging Black lives.
The weight of being a Black man in America right now, I don't think people really get it. And I'm seeing this, and every time we say Black lives matter, and somebody say, well, all lives matter. That is so freaking disrespectful. I didn't ask you if all lives matter. I asked you, do Black lives matter to you? Well, all lives matter. That's a freaking insult to my face.
Right.
That's like being at a breast cancer rally that they have in October, and they're taking up awareness for breast cancer, and your ignorant self is sitting there saying, what about all cancers? Mm-hmm. We know all cancers matter, but we are at a breast cancer rally right now. We are at a Black Lives Matter issue right now. Black lives are not mattering, so that's where we're at right now. I don't want to hear this all. It's so dismissive. Well, all lives matter. See, when I see somebody post and they create, and I ask, I said, well, do Black lives matter to you? Well, all lives matter. You didn't answer the question. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's, and I know I don't mean to take up most of the time, or take a lot of time, but that's the level of frustration. If we would be honest as Black men right now, if we would be completely honest, we might not have to say it, we're not all right.
It's frustrating to be innocent, and your only crime is to be Black. I want, out of all the laws that America could put into action, I want being Black to be legalized first and foremost.
I think about it all the time. Those thoughts go through my head, just like my brother does. If I get pulled over and I'm going to comply, but what if he instigates something? Knowing James Arthur Sims's mindset, number one, you're not going to intimidate me. Size has nothing to do with it. Muscularity has nothing to do with it, but that's just my personality. I've always been a fighter. You're not going to intimidate me, especially if I feel like you're disrespecting me and coming off wrong to me. Yeah, it's going to be one of us, and I'm not going to go down without a fight. I refuse to let another cop come behind me, kick me without cause, like you see on a lot of these videos, and just start abusing me without me fighting back. That is the day that James Sims will lose his life, or the cop is going to realize this was the wrong brother to pick with.
So, Robert, I'm not a Black male, as you guys can see. However, I do have nephews and brothers that are Black males, and I want to go back and echo on something that James had mentioned about some of the things that we see could have been avoided. But most importantly, that I find is that we, as Black people, don't know our rights. So we tend to get in a situation where if you just know your rights, then you won't have to react. It's more so being calm and saying to the officer, okay, if they're going to say, why you stopped me and all these other things, just comply to what that situation is. At the same time, just keep calm and just keep your mouth closed, because we have rights. And sometimes we just don't know it. And so we react. And not only Black men have to experience this, I want to share a story with you guys about a time when I had to encounter a police officer. And I personally went down to the magistrate's office to serve a warrant out on a young man that used to wanted to fight or kill my daughter when she was in high school. And the police officer, which happens to be Red, that was his name, Officer Red, asked me to go down to the magistrate's office to get a warrant. So when the young guy comes on campus, on the school campus, he could arrest him. So I proceeded to go down there, and all of a sudden, this cop in this magistrate's office wanted to make sure that I knew that they was in charge. So they was livid. They was just saying, well, maybe your daughter want to kill somebody or this and this. I said, well, Officer Red asked me to come down here. The next thing I knew, this officer comes out and he throws me up against the wall, put pepper spray all in my face, handcuffs me, and I can't breathe. I understand when they say they can't breathe. I could not breathe, and they had to take me to the hospital. And so the thing that happened was everybody came to see, okay, what's happening. So the chief came and wanted to know what had happened, and I'm trying to explain to them about what had happened. The point was, the guy told me that I had asked too many questions. After they ran my record and realized that I was I guess what they quote, a good citizen without any bad records, they realized, oh, we got the wrong black person. So let me try to ease my way up out of this, because we're going to be in trouble because we just violated her rights, because she had the right to come down there for a warrant. So now they're trying to back their way up out of this. Long story short, I mean, of course, I didn't. They told me I was going to be arrested up under my own continent so I can leave, and I had to get a lawyer and everything just to make sure that this went to court. But I saw this officer in the hospital, and my granddaughter, years later, I saw him in the hospital, and my granddaughter was playing with his son, and he looked at me. He knew exactly who I was. And then he said to me, he said, you know what? I am so sorry that I did that to you. But the magistrate office asked me to do that to you because they didn't like your question. They didn't like your attitude. And I said, but you as an officer should have known to serve and protect. And you didn't do that. So I'm supposed to forgive you for something that you're supposed to be on the job doing. So technically, I'm afraid of officers. If they get behind me, I am totally terrified, because I don't know what they're going to do. And so I'm slowing down, I'm panicking, because I know who they are and I know what they're capable of. Is all officers bad? No, all officers are not bad. But that's just like somebody saying Black life matters, all life matters. So don't tell me that all officers are bad and all officers are good, because we already know that. We already know that we got good officers, we got bad officers, we got black people that's good, we got white people that's good, we got everything. It's like that. But the situation at hand that caused this to happen while we're in this situation in this world right now was uncalled for. George Floyd was straight up murdered. And it wasn't about black, it was about right and wrong to me. It was about sin, and it was about good. And that officer was bad. And that's why he is dead. That's my take.
See, black folks got that power that those white folks they can't stand. It's just like you see on TV, whatever, how you got all these athletes and everything, especially black athletes and all that living rich and famous and everything, nice cars, beautiful homes and stuff like that and what have you. And a lot of white folks now they be sitting back like, it's like, how in the world they get all that money, yada yada yada, whatever. No, what they gonna do all that money, yada, and all this other stuff and everything. See, the thing is, there's a lot, because when you think about it, a lot of those white folks now, they jealous of us, they hate on us and everything. And for what? We gonna hate on us for what? Because we're talented and everything, because we good at what we do or whatever, no. And just like what James was saying and everything, I mean, dominating sports now, from basketball, football, tennis, and everything.
Entertainment.
And hopefully soon and everything, they'll see when we dominate swimming and everything else. And also, like I said, they can't stand that. I'm saying that black folks and all, and saying that we're smart, we're intelligent, we're knowledgeable, and we just have that power. And the thing is, they cannot stand that. And so that's the reason why they try to take a lot of credit and everything for the stuff that we have done, for what we have created and everything for hundreds of years or whatever. Now, but at the same time, now it's like saying, hey, you like they try to outsmart us and everything, but at the same time, and now like they say, you gotta stay 1 or 2 steps ahead of them, and now because hey, we say, hey, we know who run this. Y'all don't run this. No, black folks run this.
You know, a lot of these videos, I have to say that some of it probably could have been avoided, you know, just by the sheer nature of the interaction that some of these people have had. You know, again, regardless of, you know, the instigation, some of it's just questions that people, we just don't want to answer because we don't want to be treated like children. And sometimes we'll just start popping off at the mouth, and I'm generalizing from what I've been seeing. Sometimes it's just a matter of compliance, like the case in Winston-Salem that happened at the flea market. The brother could have just left, bought a face mask right there, and just complied. That whole ordeal probably could have been avoided. But he was a little bit on the, you know, rebellious side. He didn't want to buy a mask. He didn't want to buy a mask. Huh? So, I mean, some things probably could be avoided, but like I said, I continue to live my life each and every day. These guys, whether or not they're rednecks, these Confederate, you know, flag bearers or whatnot, you're not going to put any fear in my heart. And so, yes, I do carry. The first thing I do is when I get pulled over is I put my firearm on my dashboard and inform the officer, as you can see, I do have a weapon in the vehicle, which is within my legal right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I'm looking for other home protection as well. But you know what? I'm not going to let this stop James from living.
Okay. Anybody else have anything to say about that subject?
I just got my concealed carry license. Well, I'm sorry. Actually, I'm waiting for the actual license. I just took the class and submitted all my paperwork about a month or two ago. I'm just waiting for the sheriff's department to call me back and tell me to come pick up my license. As a person who serves in the military, you know, the last thing I should have to do is come back, you know, to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, of all places, in fear for my life from anybody. Whether it be the rednecks that James was referring to, you know, whether it be that young wannabe thug in the streets wanting to prove himself or make a name for himself, or, you know, or gain acceptance, you know, from some of his so-called friends, or even a cop that's sworn to protect and serve. If I am unarmed, I'm not posing a threat to you in any way, then please tell me how you are protecting and serving me if your foot or your knee or your hands are around my throat. If my hands are up and obviously there's nothing in either hand and you pull that trigger, please tell me how you're protecting and serving me then.
So if you think about everything that everybody just said, from beginning when we start to learn things, we're taught to hate everything that looks like us because from our religion. Think about it. From the time we go to church, in most churches in the southern, whatever, if you go to any church or whatever, back in there, I know in South Carolina, I used to get in trouble. There is a white Jesus baptizing a white John in the baptismal pool from the jump. So from that point there, from religion, they start brainwashing. So when you get into the school, so you going to church for the first 5 years of your life, being brainwashed. So to get you in the school system, now they start brainwashing you about everything that's supposed to happen good in this country. And they only teach you about, only time I saw people that look like me when they talked about slaves and what they did to the slaves and the slaves and the slaves and the slaves and the slaves. So I keep hearing this. So then pop up Martin Luther King. They'll pop that back up there, but I learned everything. So it's a brainwashing thing. So by the time I get able to kind of comprehend, if I don't have anybody around me to teach me the truth, which what's happening now, everybody's kind of learning the truth and being what we call woke. But at that time, when I was 10 and 11, nobody taught me the truth. So I grew up in this whole thing. I was already self-conscious about who I was because I never saw nobody that looked like me that did anything. The only people I saw that was good was white. You know what I'm saying? White preachers, white Jesus, white education. So I grew up with this, I don't like how I look. So when I see somebody else that look like me, I'm not going to look at them the same way. So I ain't got to worry about a cop trying to kill him. I'm going to try to kill him because I don't like the way he look. So when we have a disagreement, I'm not going to look at him like he's my brother. I'm going to look at him and say, I'm going to knock your head off. Because mentally, I've been trained not to like what I look like. So now we at this form now where we having to unlearn all this mess. So that's why I love what social media is doing now, because we're starting to unlearn all this fake, phony, hypocrite stuff so we can kind of build pride in ourselves. So now when I see my brother out, what's up, King? because that's who we are. What's up, Queen? How you doing? That's who we are.
What will be your role in the fight for justice? What will be your role in the fight for justice?
The best role for me is to be an example. As we've talked about before, it's really, really easy to teach and to say what you should do and what should take place in different scenarios and circumstances, but those things are very hard to pull on when you're actually in the mix of a situation. You have adrenaline, you have all of these other stimuli that are not available during training or teaching or testing. And so the best thing to do is to be an example along with the educational part, but also to make sure that we're teaching from a 360 standpoint. And what I mean by that is teaching all aspects, that if you're going to demand respect from white people, love yourself enough to demand respect from all people as well, which includes yourself. Don't do things that disrespect yourself. Don't do things that allow you to be taken in an adverse manner. Don't you know what I'm saying? That's my biggest take with the Black Lives Matter whole movement. Is I think it's a wonderful thing. I think it's a very empowering thing, but I wanted to empower us past being angry at white people. I wanted to empower us much further than keep us alive. I wanted to empower us much further than you're not going to talk to me any kind of way. I wanted to push us much further past surface issues.
I would love to see is for us to build our own self up so that we can reprogram our mind, so we will not have to think of oppression and depression and all of these other things that we have been taught in our own self, with our own self. And so that we can have support Black owned business, so we won't have to work so hard, so we can have the same rights and the same quality of life that every person. I don't want to see us Black people be like the white people is against us. Now we got to turn and be the same way against them. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So my leadership is to build up resources and knowledge and educate and educate the people, educate our Black people about their rights, educate our Black people about their resources, educate our Black people about what is out there in the world that we have not had the opportunity to take advantage of because we don't know. There's so much out there that we have to have. And so in order to do that, we have to make sure that we keep encouraging and educating our own people. Starting at home. Make sure that we start at home first.
Is number one, like Brian said, education. Brian and Evelyn, education on the resources that are out there. But I'm coming from the line of thinking that we need to educate about where we come from, our history, our true history, which is so important. I mean, that will basically, complement all the other education that we're getting as well. But until we know who we are as a people, our contributions to this great land and this world, it's hard to know where we have the potential to be and go. Okay. And so that's one aspect. So, and I've really been trying to do that more and learn more myself. And as I learn, I'm trying to share that with other people, especially my daughters. I have this DVD series that I've been trying to help that shed some light on a lot of things called Hidden Colors. It's a 5-disc series. And also another one called The Revolution, or the Revolution of, I think, of Haiti. I mean, just things like that of historical content are so important to know how we got to where we are. And one other thing that I've really been trying to do is, like Evelyn said as well, support our Black-owned businesses by our brothers and sisters. And I've been really adamant lately in sharing with my wife, anytime we go somewhere, let's see if we can find a Black-owned business that provides that same service. We need
Right.
to give us a chance. And I've even started my own legitimate Black-owned business as well. Everybody knows I'm passionate about health and wellness and trying to educate our people that we need to take care of self. We can't be out here protesting and we can't help anybody else if we're racking and paying our bodies because of diabetes and blood pressure and cholesterol, you know. So, but definitely support ourselves. Go out the way and find a Black-owned business, if possible, that offers the goods and services that you're looking for.
Continue to educate ourselves, like James said. I was really starting to get into that, just the education piece, real history, our African history. I teach my kids all the time, we didn't start at slavery. Don't believe that. We didn't start at slavery. Christopher Columbus was a lie. He was a rapist. He was a murderer. He got drunk. He was going to the wrong place. That's the truth.
Yep.
I start with the truth. Tell them, Jesus is not white.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? He's not.
Not in that description, he's not, but you know.
He's not. But then my daughter took it a step further. She said, well, why did they tell us that, Daddy? See, that's you see what I'm at? So now she's starting to think like me. Okay, if that's not the case, why did they show me the real picture? That's what we got to do now.
What I'd like to see happen in our next segment with more panel guests is, where do we go from here?
Okay.
Where do we go from here? Just where do we go from here? You know, we've talked about we need to vote. Yes, we need to vote in November. We've talked about how we feel, why we feel. We've talked about educating each other, educating our people, educating others about our people, history, how we're raising our kids, things of that sort. Where do we go from here? That's the next segment. Okay? We've got all this groundwork right here, but we've got to move it forward. We can't just be talking about it. We got to what?
Got to do something.
Be about it.
We gotta be about it.
Right.